In a world that often feels like it's crumbling beneath our feet, where uncertainties rage like a storm, and the foundations we thought were solid seem to be giving way, where do we find our strength? Where do we find a place of safety, a harbor in the tempest, a refuge that will not be shaken? This ancient question echoes through the ages, and the timeless answer found in the sacred text points us not to ourselves, not to human institutions, not to worldly power, but to the divine, the unshakable, the eternal God. We begin our journey into this truth with a psalm that speaks directly to the heart of chaos and fear, Psalm 46. Imagine the most terrifying natural disaster you can conceive: the earth trembling, mountains collapsing into the churning sea, the very ground giving way. This psalm opens with such vivid, almost apocalyptic imagery, painting a picture of utter cosmic disruption. Yet, amidst this portrayal of terrifying upheaval, the very first declaration is a bedrock of hope. God is our refuge and strength, an ever-present help in trouble. Think about that phrase, ever-present help. Not a distant, occasional helper, but one who is present, right here, right now, in the midst of this trouble. This is not a God who observes our struggles from afar. This is a God who is immersed in our reality, ready to extend His mighty hand, because He is this refuge and strength, this ever-present help. The psalm declares, "Therefore, we will not fear." What a profound statement of faith! Even though the earth is giving way, even though the mountains are falling into the heart of the sea, though the waters roar and foam, and the mountains quake with their surging, despite all this terrifying chaos, the one who trusts in God finds a foundation so firm that fear is disarmed. The imagery shifts from chaos to calm, from roaring waters to a gentle, life-giving stream. There is a river whose streams make glad the city of God, the holy place where the Most High dwells. This river represents the life, peace, and provision that flow from God's presence. It makes glad the city where God dwells, His people, His sanctuary. Because God is within her, she will not fall. Even when surrounded by the world's turmoil, the city where God resides is secure. God will help her at break of day. A promise of timely intervention, rescue arriving just when it's needed most, as the darkness of trouble gives way to the dawn of His help. The scope widens again to the global scale. Nations are in uproar, kingdoms fall. The world stage is full of conflict, political instability, the rise and fall of powers. But in contrast to this human drama, we see God's effortless power. He lifts His voice, the earth melts. With a mere word, the Creator can bring about transformative change, dismantling human power structures. The conclusion to this section is a powerful refrain, a declaration of ultimate security. The Lord Almighty is with us. The God of Jacob is our fortress. The name, Lord Almighty, Yahweh Sabaoth, signifies His power over heavenly armies and earthly forces. The God of Jacob reminds us of His covenant faithfulness to His chosen people, despite their flaws. This God, mighty and faithful, is our fortress, an impenetrable defense. The psalmist invites us, "Come and see what the Lord has done, the desolations He has brought on the earth." He demonstrates His power, not just in protection, but in bringing an end to conflict, making wars cease to the ends of the earth. He dismantles the instruments of war, the bow, the spear, the shields. He alone has the authority and power to enforce peace. And then comes the profound, often challenging, command from the divine voice. "Be still, and know that I am God." In the midst of our rushing, our worrying, our striving, our attempts to control the chaos, God simply says, "Stop. Be still, and know that I am God. Recognize my sovereignty, my power, my presence." This command is not passive resignation but active surrender, a quiet acknowledgement of His supreme authority. He will be exalted among the nations, exalted in the earth. His glory will be revealed to all. And the psalm concludes with the strengthening repetition, the Lord Almighty is with us. The God of Jacob is our fortress. This truth is so central, so vital, it bears repeating, anchoring our souls in His presence and power. But what prevents us from fully embracing this truth? What hinders us from truly trusting in God as our refuge and strength? The prophet Jeremiah offers a stark contrast that sheds light on our struggle. In Jeremiah chapter 17, we see the depth of Judah's sin, deeply ingrained, a mark on their hearts and altars. Their sin had consequences, leading to loss and enslavement. And then comes the critical distinction regarding where we place our trust. This is what the Lord says: "Cursed is the one who trusts in man, who draws strength from mere flesh, and whose heart turns away from the Lord." This curse is not an arbitrary pronouncement, but the natural consequence of misplacing our trust. When we rely solely on human ability, human systems, human wisdom, or even our own strength, mere flesh, and our heart drifts away from the true source of life and power, we become like a bush in the wastelands. We are exposed, vulnerable, unable to flourish. We will not see prosperity when it comes. Not necessarily material wealth, but true spiritual well-being and security. Such a person will dwell in parched places of the desert, in a salt land where no one lives. A metaphor for a life devoid of spiritual vitality, fruitfulness, and true connection. In stark contrast, Jeremiah pronounces a blessing, "But blessed is the one who trusts in the Lord, whose confidence is in Him." This person finds their assurance, their reliance, their hope entirely in God. What is the result? They will be like a tree planted by the water that sends out its roots by the stream. This imagery is rich with life. A tree near water has a constant, reliable source of nourishment. Its roots run deep, anchored and sustained. It does not fear when heat comes. Its leaves are always green. It has no worries in a year of drought, and never fails to bear fruit. This tree thrives regardless of external circumstances, heat, drought, difficult seasons. Its vitality comes from its connection to the life-giving stream. This is the picture of a life anchored in God, flourishing even in adversity, bearing fruit for His glory, because its trust is rightly placed. Jeremiah then turns his gaze inward, to the human heart itself. The heart is deceitful above all things and beyond cure. Who can understand it? This is a sobering truth. Our own motivations, desires, and intentions can be hidden from ourselves, prone to self-deception. This explains why trusting in our own understanding or the understanding of other mere humans is fundamentally flawed. We cannot even fully trust our own hearts. But immediately, Jeremiah provides the remedy and the contrast. "I, the Lord, search the heart and examine the mind to reward each person according to their conduct, according to what their deeds deserve." God sees completely. He understands perfectly. He is the only reliable judge, and the only one truly capable of knowing and transforming the heart. The passage touches on the futility of gaining riches unjustly, which ultimately prove worthless. It then returns to the theme of God as our sanctuary and hope. A glorious throne, exalted from the beginning, is the place of our sanctuary. Our true place of worship, safety, and refuge is in the presence of the eternal, exalted God. And then, a powerful declaration, followed by a plea: "Lord, you are the hope of Israel. All who forsake you will be put to shame. Those who turn away from you will be written in the dust, because they have forsaken the Lord, the spring of living water." Forsaking God is turning away from the very source of life, resulting in shame and insignificance, like names written transiently in dust. The plea follows from this realization: "Heal me, Lord, and I shall be healed. Save me, and I shall be saved, for you are the one I praise. Recognizing our desperate need due to the deceitful heart and our tendency to turn away, the prophet cries out for God's healing and saving power, acknowledging that all praise belongs to Him as the source of salvation. Jeremiah shares his personal struggle, questioned and doubted by those who demanded immediate fulfillment of prophecy. He affirms his faithfulness as a shepherd appointed by God and pleads for God's protection and vindication against his persecutors. He seeks refuge in God in the day of disaster, trusting God to deal with his enemies while preserving him from shame and terror. The passage then shifts to a specific instruction regarding the Sabbath day, highlighting obedience as a path to blessing. The Sabbath was a sign of the covenant, a day set apart for rest and worship, demonstrating trust in God's provision rather than relying solely on human labor. Disobedience to this command, like other acts of forsaking God, would bring judgment, fire consuming Jerusalem's fortresses. But obedience would bring continued blessing and the presence of rulers entering the city with honor, signifying stability and enduring habitation. This instruction reinforces the broader principle: trusting God involves obeying His commands, recognizing His authority over all aspects of life, including our time and work. From the depths of struggle and the choice between trusting God and man, we rise to a song of triumphant thanksgiving in Psalm 118. This psalm is a powerful declaration of God's goodness and His enduring love, a theme repeated multiple times for emphasis. Give thanks to the Lord, for He is good, His love endures forever. This is the starting point and the anchor, not our circumstances, not our feelings, but the unchanging character of God. This truth is so fundamental that it is to be declared by all Israel, the house of Aaron, the priests, and those who fear the Lord. All who stand in relationship with God are called to affirm this glorious reality. The psalmist recounts a time of intense pressure. When hard pressed, I cried to the Lord. He brought me into a spacious place. Trouble confined him, but God's intervention brought him into a place of freedom, relief, and safety. This is the experience of divine deliverance. Because of this, the psalmist declares with unwavering confidence, "The Lord is with me, I will not be afraid." Fear loses its grip when we are acutely aware of God's presence. And if God is with us, what is there truly to fear from human opposition? What can mere mortals do to me? Their power is limited, temporary, ultimately inconsequential compared to the infinite power of God. The affirmation is repeated, "The Lord is with me, He is my helper." This presence leads to triumph. I look in triumph on my enemies. The contrast with human trust is reiterated forcefully. It is better to take refuge in the Lord than to trust in humans. It is better to take refuge in the Lord than to trust in princes. This is not a condemnation of all human relationships or authority, but a clear statement of ultimate priorities. Human help, even from the most powerful among us princes, is fallible, limited, and uncertain. God's refuge is perfect, complete, and certain. When surrounded by hostile forces, described here as nations surrounding him, swarming like bees, the psalmist's victory was not achieved through his own strength or strategy alone, but, "In the name of the Lord I cut them down." The power was God's. Even when, pushed back and about to fall, it was the Lord who helped him. This experience culminates in a declaration of God's vital role. "The Lord is my strength and my defense. He has become my salvation." He is not just a source of strength or a layer of defense, He is strength and defense itself. And more than that, He is salvation. This leads to rejoicing. Shouts of joy and victory resound in the tents of the righteous. The victory is His doing, accomplished by His mighty power. The Lord's right hand has done mighty things. The Lord's right hand is lifted high. The Lord's right hand has done mighty things. The right hand is a symbol of power, authority, and action. God's powerful action brings about salvation and victory. In the face of near-death experiences, the psalmist affirms faith in future life and purpose. I will not die but live, and will proclaim what the Lord has done. Even chastening from God, though severe, does not lead to ultimate destruction because His purpose is not death, but life and testimony. The psalmist desires to enter the gates of the righteous, the gate of the Lord, to give thanks for salvation. He declares, "You have become my salvation." Then comes a pivotal prophecy that points beyond the psalmist to the Messiah. The stone the builders rejected has become the cornerstone. The Lord has done this, and it is marvelous in our eyes. This verse, quoted in the New Testament regarding Jesus, speaks of something seemingly insignificant or dismissed becoming the essential, foundational element. It is a work of God, astonishing to human eyes. This day of salvation, orchestrated by the Lord, is a day for rejoicing. The Lord has done it this very day. Let us rejoice today and be glad. The psalm concludes with appeals for salvation and success, blessings pronounced from God's house, and recognition of God as the source of light and life. The call to join in festal procession with branches symbolizes celebration and worship. The final declaration echoes the beginning, cementing the foundation of faith and praise. You are my God, and I will praise you. You are my God, and I will exalt you. Give thanks to the Lord, for He is good, His love endures forever. While the Psalms and prophecy offer profound theological truths and emotional expressions of faith and struggle, the book of Joshua provides a powerful historical narrative, a concrete demonstration of God actively fighting for His people. In Joshua chapter 10, we witness God intervening in a battle in ways that defy natural law, showcasing His unparalleled power and commitment to those who trust Him. Adoni-Zedek, the king of Jerusalem, hears of Israel's victories and Gibeon's treaty with them. Fear prompts him to form a coalition of 5 Amorite kings to attack Gibeon. The Gibeonites, now allies of Israel, cry out to Joshua for help. Joshua, demonstrating immediate trust and obedience to God's covenant, marches his entire army from Gilgal. Before the battle, the Lord speaks directly to Joshua, echoing the theme of overcoming fear with faith. Do not be afraid of them. I have given them into your hand. Not one of them will be able to withstand you. This divine assurance is the source of Joshua's courage and the army's resolve. It's not their military might alone, but God's promise that guarantees victory. Joshua launches a surprise attack after an all-night march. And then, God intervenes decisively. The Lord threw them into confusion before Israel. Panic and disarray spread through the enemy ranks, turning their organized attack into a chaotic rout. As the Amorites flee down the road, God fights alongside Israel in a spectacular and terrifying way. The Lord hurled large hailstones down on them from the sky, and more of them died from the hail than were killed by the swords of the Israelites. The very elements fight for God's people, demonstrating His sovereignty over creation and His willingness to use it for their protection and His judgment on their enemies. But the most astonishing event is yet to come. In a moment of bold faith, in the presence of Israel, Joshua cries out to the Lord, commanding the sun and moon to stand still. This was not a magical incantation, but a prayer of audacious faith, rooted in the knowledge that the Lord was fighting for Israel and could do anything. And the Lord answered. So the sun stood still, and the moon stopped, till the nation avenged itself on its enemies. The sun stopped in the middle of the sky and delayed going down about a full day. The narrative explicitly states, "There has never been a day like it before or since, a day when the Lord listened to a human being." Why did God do this? The reason is clearly stated. Surely the Lord was fighting for Israel. This was a day when biblical strength was dramatically displayed, not just in Israel, but for Israel by their God. It was a day of unparalleled divine intervention, confirming that God's power is not limited by natural processes when His purposes are at stake. Following this miraculous victory, the enemy kings are captured. Joshua brings them out and instructs his commanders to put their feet on the necks of these kings. This was a symbolic act, demonstrating God-given dominion over their enemies. Joshua then delivers a powerful message of encouragement that resonates with the themes of this entire exploration. Do not be afraid, do not be discouraged, be strong and courageous. This is what the Lord will do to all the enemies you are going to fight. The victory over these kings was a sign, a promise, of God's continued faithfulness to fight for Israel and give them victory in the battles ahead. The subsequent accounts of Joshua's conquest of Makkedah, Libnah, Lachish, Eglon, Hebron, and Debir reinforce this truth. Repeatedly it is stated that the Lord gave these cities and their kings into Israel's hands. The human effort was necessary. Joshua and Israel fought, but the ultimate victory came because the Lord, the God of Israel, fought for Israel. This historical account is a powerful illustration of what it means to have God's help in trouble, demonstrating that when we step out in faith and obedience, God Himself engages in the battle on our behalf. It is a profound example of trusting God man. Israel trusted in God's promise and power, not just their own fighting ability, and God delivered in miraculous ways. Finally, we turn to the prophet Zephaniah, whose message, like Jeremiah's, begins with stern warnings of judgment, but culminates in a glorious vision of restoration and God's joyful presence. Zephaniah chapter 3 opens with a woe against Jerusalem, described as rebellious, defiled, and oppressive. Her fundamental failure is highlighted. She obeys no one. She accepts no correction. She does not trust in the Lord. She does not draw near to her God. This lack of trust and intimacy with God is the root of her corruption, seen in her roaring lion officials and evening wolf rulers who devour and leave nothing. Even her religious leaders, prophets and priests, are corrupt, profaning the sanctuary and doing violence to the law. Yet, even within this deeply flawed city, God's character remains constant. The Lord within her is righteous. He does no wrong. Morning by morning He dispenses His justice, and every new day He does not fail. God's righteousness is an internal standard that highlights the unrighteousness of His people. His persistent justice, dispensed faithfully each day, serves as a constant witness. Yet the unrighteous know no shame. God recounts His past judgments on other nations, destroying their strongholds and laying waste to their cities, intending for Jerusalem to learn and fear Him. He hoped she would accept correction, ensuring her place of refuge would not be destroyed. But they remained eager to act corruptly. Because of this persistent rebellion and failure to trust, judgment is inevitable. Therefore, wait for me, declares the Lord, for the day I will stand up to testify. I have decided to assemble the nations, to gather the kingdoms, and to pour out my wrath on them, all my fierce anger. The whole world will be consumed by the fire of my jealous anger. This is a terrifying prospect, a worldwide judgment. But the message does not end there. Following the judgment, there is a transformative work of grace and restoration. Then I will purify the lips of the peoples, that all of them may call on the name of the Lord, and serve Him shoulder to shoulder. Judgment leads to purification. enabling true worship and unified service to God. Scattered people from distant lands will bring offerings, signifying a global ingathering of worshipers. For Jerusalem Zion, the shame will be removed. God will take away the arrogant, boastful ones, leaving behind the meek and humble. This remnant will be characterized by their trust in the name of the Lord. They will live righteously, speak truthfully, and dwell in safety. They will eat and lie down, and no one will make them afraid. The fear that gripped the city and its people due to their sin and external threats will be removed, replaced by the security that comes from God's presence. The prophecy culminates in a beautiful call to rejoice, focusing not on past failures or present troubles, but on God's redemptive work. Sing, daughter Zion! Shout aloud, Israel! Be glad and rejoice with all your heart, daughter Jerusalem. Why such joy? Because the Lord has taken away your punishment. He has turned back your enemy. The Lord, the King of Israel, is with you. Never again will you fear any harm. The source of joy is God Himself, present as King, having removed both the internal consequence of sin, punishment, and the external threat's enemy. His presence banishes fear. This passage contains one of the most tender and awe-inspiring descriptions of God's heart towards His people. The Lord your God is with you, the mighty warrior who saves. He will take great delight in you. In His love He will no longer rebuke you, but will rejoice over you with singing. Imagine the mighty warrior God, the one who hurled hailstones and stopped the sun, also being the one who delights in you, loves you without rebuke, and rejoices over you with singing. This is the culmination of God's work of salvation and restoration, intimacy, joy, and complete security in His presence. God promises to deal with their oppressors, rescue the afflicted, gather the exiles, and give them praise and honor where they once suffered shame. At that time, I will gather you. At that time, I will bring you home. I will give you honor and praise among all the peoples of the earth, when I restore your fortunes before your very eyes, declares the Lord. This is a promise of ultimate restoration, vindication, and glory for God's people, brought about solely by His hand. Bringing these powerful passages together, we see a consistent, unfolding truth about God and our relationship with Him. From the unshakable refuge of Psalm 46, through the crucial choice of trust presented in Jeremiah 17, the triumphant salvation experienced in Psalm 118, the dramatic demonstration of God fighting for His people in Joshua 10, to the judgment and glorious, joyful restoration in Zephaniah 3, the message is clear, true, strength in God, unwavering, trusting God, and finding God as our refuges, are not merely abstract concepts, but life-transforming realities. We are called to abandon reliance on mere human effort or the deceitful desires of our own hearts. We are invited to anchor ourselves in the living God, the spring of living water, becoming like trees flourishing by His stream, regardless of the heat or drought of life. We are reminded that when trouble comes, when we are hard-pressed and surrounded, God is our ever-present help, our strength, our defense, our salvation. He is the one who fights our battles, often in ways we cannot see or imagine, demonstrating His power over all creation and all opposition. And the ultimate promise is not just survival, but restoration, purification, and dwelling securely in His presence, knowing that He delights in us and rejoices over us. This journey through Scripture reveals that biblical strength is not found in mustering more human effort, but in surrendering to God's power. Overcoming fear with faith is possible because the mighty warrior is with us, promising that no harm will touch us eternally. Trusting God man is the fundamental choice that determines whether we wither in the desert or flourish by the water. These Zeraf Bible verses for strength are not just ancient words, they are living truths, powerful and relevant for our lives today, offering us God's help in trouble, and the assurance that our ultimate refuge and strength is found nowhere else but in Him, the Lord Almighty, the God of Jacob, our fortress, our hope, our salvation, who rejoices over us with singing. Let us, therefore, be still, and know that He is God, exalting Him in every circumstance, now and forevermore.